How about now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, it's working now. Thank you. So, we're gonna have to check the mic settings in all of my scenes. I should have known better because I had to reset my camera settings this morning too. OBS does that to me every once in a while, and I don't know why. So let's check them all. Hang on. Okay, it looks like this one is working. I think this one is working. This one is working. And I think this one is working. And speaking of the chat, we'll get the chat fixed up here. Yeah, I'm guessing she doesn't have the chat up yet. No, I've got the chat. I can see the chat. I just don't have it up here yet, but we'll get it going. You know what? It's no big deal. I mean, we need sound obviously, but we don't panic about stuff like this. We just move forward, and that's why we have mods in the chat who are kind enough to keep an eye on these things for us, right? They help us out. They got my back. And there we go. Nice. Go Elmo is here. Malik Robinson and Monique Robinson, both mods in the chat. Not related, just a coincidence. And they're both here. They're both here to let me know that my mic is not on. Yeah, OBS does this every once in a while. So honestly, I should have known better because this morning when I turned everything on, the camera setting, like it's this weird thing where I have to like reselect my camera input, and I should have known that I should have also checked the mic input, which I did not. So there's that. But hey, we're only 5 minutes in, and that's why we have mods to let us know, or that's why we have people in the chat. Can you imagine if I didn't have mods and nobody really watched and I just did like an entire live stream muted? That could happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it could happen. So, thank you, Malik and Monique, for letting me know. Okay. Oh, and Clash of Clans Legend is here. Hello, welcome. Happy to see you. How are you doing? I'm doing well. I'm doing my best. I'm hanging in there. How are you doing? How are you all doing? Okay, let me allow myself to introduce myself. Again, my name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and a software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. On this channel, we mostly practice vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because those are the three things that the browser renders natively. I also think that I will never tell you that I will never tell you that you only need to know those things in order to be a front-end developer, but you do need to know them in addition to all the other things in order to be a front-end developer. I think certainly React and Tailwind are the big winners right now, although let's be honest, in the last 6 months, I don't hear anybody talking about React and Tailwind. Not like last year. 2025 was all React, all Tailwind. Tailwind especially. I had people in the chat all the time asking me why I wasn't using Tailwind. I haven't had that question in months because everything is AI, agentic AI, and I'm here for it. I was late, but now I'm here and I love it. And this is what we're working on this weekend. Well, if you were here last week, or excuse me, yesterday, not last week, if you were here yesterday, we spent the entire day planning a project. The project is this. I have hundreds of hours of live streaming content that I've done for YouTube. I also, in addition, while I'm streaming, I'm also recording locally. I am recording the stream. Couple weeks ago, I discovered that I could quickly and easily transcribe my streams, and let me tell you how easy it is. I'm using this app called Mac Whisper. I'll pull it up here, which uses the OpenAI Whisper API, the OpenAI transcription called Whisper. I got it from, where did I get it here? I could tell you who sells it. Okay, it doesn't matter. I bought it on Gumroad. I can never remember the name of the person who. Right here. Jordy Bruin. I don't know who Jordy Bruin is. Clearly, this is somebody who's very talented. They build several apps for Mac using the Open AI. He's got a lot of, he or she, I don't know, has several apps for Mac. This one seems to be very popular, and for good reason. It can transcribe a 2 hour live stream in about 2 minutes. So I'm working my way through my back catalog of content because I've saved every recording of myself of every live stream because I just couldn't bring, I just kept thinking to myself, even what I might need these. I'm kind of a pack rat, a little bit of a digital pack rat, honestly. And it's not the worst idea in the world to save them because I haven't done it in a while. I haven't done it in a couple of months, but for several months I was editing every live stream into focused project videos, and I do still plan to do that, but it's an enormous amount of work and honestly they just don't get the views. So that's why I kind of fell off with it. But I do still record every live stream, and to have these now, this is yesterday's live stream transcript with these very granular timestamps. It's honestly so incredible. So I have several jobs set up where I'm essentially mining my own content. Here's what I don't want to do. I do not want to go to ChatGPT and say, write me an ebook on deployment and DevOps for front end developers. No, I don't want to do that. What I would like to do though is go to my own set of transcripts, build my own database, my own content where I did development and DevOps, and then I would like to turn that into an ebook. So that's basically what we're doing. It's going to take me several more weeks, probably a couple of more months, actually. I think it'll be August or September before I work my way back through my entire back catalog of live streams. I just do a couple every day. And then, of course, as soon as the stream ends, I immediately transcribe the stream. And I have jobs set up where I can create chapters, write descriptions, get title suggestions. So it's also turned into a great workflow just in terms of being a content creator. And I'm seriously thinking about deviating from the front end HTML, CSS, JavaScript and making some AI workflow content creator type videos for the channel because I'm enjoying it so much. And I think maybe it would give people some ideas or creative ideas, creative ways to deal with their own content or just their own ideas for projects, databases, things like that. I don't know. Anyways, we have a good set of transcripts that are ready to go. There is work on the front end once a transcript is done. So really, this is what a transcript looks like. I need to add metadata. I need to add a title, a date. There is information about each transcript that I want to capture. The ID, the video ID, there's a stream offset because my local copy does not have the same timing as the actual live. I start recording before I actually go live, so I need to know, I have to check and see what this offset is. I associate every transcript with a project, a GitHub repository, and then I include the description for the video as part of the metadata. And then beyond that, everything is just the words that I spoke, the words that came out of my mouth as I was streaming. So it's pretty cool. And we spent all day yesterday in the planning phases of this. So this is a repository that I have called Content Agent, which is where all of my transcripts, if I've got output, if I run a job, if I am analyzing my analytics, if I have an ebook idea, and then these are all of the jobs that I run. These repositories are private. I'm keeping them just for myself, but I'm happy to show them during the live stream. Here is the YouTube database project. And again, this repository is also going to stay private, but when we finish this project, we are going to do a second full stack database project similar to this, not exactly the same, but similar to this. But we will use public domain content. We are going to build a database called the Jane Austen database with all of Jane Austen's novels, and we'll do the requirements gathering, decide how we want it to filter, things like that, but it will be very similar to what we're doing now, because I don't want to, I want to do one of these projects and have it be public, but for this in particular, I feel like I do still need it to be private. So I'm sure you can understand why. Anyways, here are all of our requirements. So if you want to see the requirements gathering part of this project, that was in yesterday's video. YouTube has not finished processing the video yet, so I marked it as private. YouTube can sometimes take up to 24 hours to process a video, and I was having some trouble with getting it to go public. So it will probably be public later today. Once it's public, you will be able to watch the entire requirements gathering process. So this is all of the requirements, how I want things to filter, how I want things to be structured. The other thing I was thinking about this morning is I want to make sure that the prompts are very explicit about not vibe coding anything related to the front end. So certainly build the front end, maybe. Maybe. No, I feel like we really need to. Well, let's have that conversation with ChatGPT, actually. Um, I now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that we had a discussion about it was really just all about the back end, and I said I would do the front end. But do we want it to just do at least the HTML scaffolding and sort of connect everything, and then we could go in and do refactoring if we want to? Let's clarify that today. But we could just do the back end, get the API, and then do everything ourselves. I didn't think that far ahead. I didn't think that far ahead. Let's see here. So I think we should turn on no more caps. Try to refrain from all caps in the chat because it looks like you're yelling. That's what it looks like. Okay. Manish says, hi, love from India. Can you help me as I have built many full stack projects, but I am not getting confident in full stack. So how should I move forward and the role of AI in development? Okay, so this is not a bad question at all. I think it's a very broad question though, right? Confidence is something that we all deal with, and the way that I overcome a lack of confidence is practice. That's the simplest, most straightforward answer that I can give you there. If you have built many full stack projects, but you are not getting confident in full stack, maybe you need to speak with a counselor or a therapist. This could run deeper than just your confidence level in the work that you're doing. So you may need to just talk to somebody about it. If you have built many apps and you're still dealing with a lack of confidence, first of all, a lot of us deal with a lack of confidence. And second of all, sometimes we're not just lacking confidence in the work that we do, but we're lacking confidence in our lives in general. And that is just something that you have to find a way to work through. That's my best answer for that. How should I move forward and the role of AI in development? So, what is your question about the role of AI in development? Are you just curious about my opinion? It's here to stay. It's absolutely going to be a requirement to learn how to use AI effectively. That's what we're doing in today's live stream. We are using AI to build a back end, and then I am going to build the front end myself, and I have lots of requirements for how I expect that to look and function. Um, I don't think, I think it would be very unusual to find a job as a developer where there wasn't some expectation that you're using AI. Every company is going to be a little bit different. I think organizations are starting to realize that they can't replace people with AI, but there is certainly going to be an expectation that more people get more work done quicker, faster, and more accurately because they are using AI. So humans still very much need to be a part of the process, but it will take fewer humans to do the work and they will be able to do it faster. And that's not even an opinion. That's just what I see happening. That is my own experience using AI. Give me one moment, please. Hold, please. So Manish, I hope that that answers your question. And let's refrain from using all caps in the chat because it looks like you're yelling. And I don't like being yelled at. Targio Show is here and says, hello, welcome. Thanks for coming to join us. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't quite thought through like, like, are we just gonna take let's see here. Manish says, sorry, I didn't mention, but I am a college major and fresher. So it's not really that I have a depression, it's just that I want to be the best. Well, if you're dealing with a lack of confidence, in my opinion, that inherently says something is running a little deeper than just the work itself. Imposter syndrome is rampant in technology and the dev community. We all feel it. I can only speak for myself and tell you that my own issues with confidence run a little deeper than just the work themselves, the work itself. And one of the ways that I've gotten over that is talking to people, talking to a counselor sometimes, and just experience. If you're in college and you've built several full stack projects, probably one of the best ways that you're going to get over your confidence issues are actually being part of a team and spending years of your life launching projects. Let's not forget, people, that sometimes the experience of just doing the work is how you move forward in life. Like, literally. I don't think when you're in college, you're supposed to be really super confident. And I'm sorry, you are simply not the best. If you're just starting out in your career and you're in college, and technically you have the expertise to build full stack projects, being a software developer and software engineer is about much, much more than the code itself. If you've never been on a team, if you have never had the experience of starting and finishing a project, doing the deployment, getting real feedback from end users, dealing with colleagues, dealing with leadership teams, doing requirements gathering, thinking you did a great job, and then having something get sent back to you to be done over again. Those are the things that you need to do in order to really move forward in your career and feel good about your work. So your first comment says, I have built many full stack projects. Well, I don't know how many is, but you sort of presented this comment as if you were an experienced developer. Now you're saying you're in college. So that says to me that you maybe are actually a little overconfident. I don't know. I don't know you. I'm trying to like figure out from the chat who you are and what it is you're actually asking me. I'm doing my best to, I guess, be a YouTube psychologist this morning. So, okay. Let's get if I don't answer the chat, I'll do it later. Let's do some work. Okay. We need to clarify some of the prompting around front end. I didn't quite think of this yesterday. Do we want to be fully responsible for that fetch and render, or do we want to let Codex do it for us and then we can go in and sort of like refactor? Let's ask. Okay. Okay. I had another thought. I did not specify if I wanted Codex to do the initial fetch and render. I really want to do the majority of the front end work, but I'm open to Codex at least doing the fetch and initial render and starting with the initial HTML. But you know what that means? That means then, see, this is why I fully acknowledge that frameworks are so incredibly useful, because the HTML when you render is like not even recognizable, right? That render step is, it's impossible to visualize what it is that you're actually rendering, which is why I always lay out the HTML first. I lay out and style the HTML first, and then I copy the HTML and I put it in a comment in my JS file, and then I go through that render step. That is specifically why I do that. So if we have Codex do that for us, it will be very difficult to see what that HTML looks like unless it uses inner HTML, which I'm not opposed to because it's always going to be a local private app. Okay, well, let's articulate that to Codex and see what ChatGPT says here. This is why I acknowledge that frameworks, oh my God, Angela, frameworks are so powerful. The render step in vanilla JavaScript makes the HTML unrecognizable unless we're using inner HTML, which I know is not a best practice, which I know is not a best practice. But this is a local database, and I'm not wildly concerned about that. Okay, maybe the most important thing is just getting the API and JSON structure figured out. Then I do the fetch and render to make sure it looks exactly the way I want it to. What do we think about that? What do we think about that? I hadn't fully thought this part of it through yet. Let's see what ChatGPT thinks. Okay, yes, I think the API and JSON contract should come before the front end. Since you want to own most of the front end, I would keep Codex's front end scope intentionally small. Create the initial semantic HTML structure, add a minimal API client or fetch example, render a plain unstyled result list or table. I like this result list. And then we can go back in and refactor. Avoid building reusable components, styling systems, sorting UI, selection behavior, or the final interaction design. That gives you a working vertical slice without letting Codex make front-end decisions you'll later have to undo. And for this project, using inner HTML is not inherently unreasonable. The data is local and controlled. The real issue is whether transcript text could contain HTML-like content or unexpected markup. You can still use inner HTML safely enough if dynamic text is escaped before interpolation, or use a mixed approach. That keeps the template readable without treating transcript content as trusted HTML. But I agree with your larger point. We do not need to decide the final rendering approach yet. What I would lock down first, before Codex builds any meaningful front end, define the API response using real examples. For search, I would want something like, okay, can I digress for a moment? How are people vibe coding? Not doing these steps. How are people vibe coding? Not doing this. That's terrifying, right? Am I the only one? Okay. For search, I would want something like query. So we have a query object. What's the text? I don't know what this is. Project, month, results, transcript ID, chunk ID, title. So I assume that these are coming from the database. Those are getting assigned in the database. Or maybe with Express when it's being pulled out of the database. I don't know. Title, date, project repository, transcript path, file name. Okay. And metadata. Once those contracts feel right, your front end becomes straightforward. You are no longer designing the interface around whatever database rows happen to come back. Revised build boundary. I would restructure the jobs this way. Codex owns transcript inspection, database schema, parser and importer, timestamp utilities, search query layer, API routes, API validation and tests, minimal HTML shell, optional minimal fetch and render proof. You own the final HTML structure, the visual design, results presentation, sorting controls, filtering interactions, checkbox and selection experience, copy path interface, accessibility decisions and refinements, loading, empty, and error state presentation. That also means the earlier basic front end job should not be framed as build the front end. It should be framed as provide a minimal browser client that provides the API, that proves the API works. Keep it deliberately disposable and avoid making product level decisions. Hang on one moment. I'm so sorry. I have allergies. Okay. And Ethio Football says, "Who are you? Tell us about why you're doing this." Okay. Okay. Um, okay, so provide a minimal browser client that proves the API works. Keep it deliberately disposable and avoid making product level front end decisions. I like that. So prompt for the API contract job. This should happen after the importer, before the route implementation. Okay. Completion criteria. The API contract must, excuse me, must be specific enough that the front end can be developed against the JSON fixtures before the server routes are complete. That last line is especially useful for you. You could build the front end against search results.json without waiting for the back end and without letting backend implementation details dictate your markup. The order I now favor is transcript format, schema importer, API contract and JSON fixtures, search service and routes, your front end. I'm actually completely fine with letting Codex make some of these decisions because that's like kind of the point, right? The tiny Codex rendered prototype is optional. Once you have the JSON fixture, you may find it faster and more satisfying to take over immediately. Okay, so let's do this. Let's refresh Codex's memory on the prompts and the requirements and ask it if these prompts need to be modified. Okay, these are the prompts and requirements from yesterday. What needs to be modified? Am I spelling that right? Okay, several things should be updated before you run these jobs. The biggest changes are the approved directory import rule, the front end ownership boundary, and the API contract step. I mean, this is why I haven't loved AI for this stuff, right? It's because this is why Codex is so powerful, but these are things that I feel like I have to do in the chat part, not in the Codex part, but this is a pain in the ass, right? Okay, so update requirements. The requirements still say the importer traverses the entire transcripts directory. That now conflicts with your decision to explicitly identify which project directories are ready. I thought we updated that, but okay. Replace the current import process language with this. Okay. I guess we, okay. Directories not included in the configuration are ignored. Within each approved directory, every Markdown transcript file is expected to be complete and ready for import. The importer does not attempt to infer whether a transcript or directory is ready, yes. Then revise the workflow to import process. Okay, where is import process? Okay. Yeah, we took out data transcripts, right? We'll have it recheck it. That contradicts, okay. Revise it. Oh, down here. See, it tells me to change things. It doesn't always tell me where, like what line. So this is what we need to change. This. Okay. Clarify front-end ownership. Okay. Front-end development scope. Here's the API contract. Prompt 1 only needs a small clarification. Prompt 1 already includes the approved directory rule. That part is correct. However, it does not say where Codex gets the approved directory list. Add something explicit near the beginning. Okay, inspect only files inside those directories. If that configuration file does not yet exist, create only the configuration file using the directory list supplied for this job. Do not implement importer behavior. Or for the first job, simply put the actual directories directly in the prompt. Yeah, this is, yes. And I know what directories they are. So we want Colorado, UI snacks, practice layouts, and YouTube database. So this will be 25. Hang on, can we just copy these? Gosh, the whole thing really. There we go. So I think really we just want to do this to get started, right? We will have it recheck prompt 1 to make sure I did that correctly. Add offset sign inspection. This is important. The requirements show a positive offset. Local timestamp 765, offset -30. But your actual transcript may use prompt 1 should determine this rather than, okay, where do you want me to put this? I don't know where you want me to put this. Add to the inspection. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Oh my God. This is too much copying and pasting. Can you please just fix the prompts? I can't hunt and peck my way through this. Absolutely. Oh, good. Once these get beyond a certain size, editing them line by line in chat becomes miserable. I created revised versions that incorporate the decisions we've made so far. That said, I don't think we're quite at the point yet where these prompts are final. As we've been talking, I've realized the project has evolved enough that I'd actually like to do one more pass. Instead of just patching yesterday's prompts, I'd like to rewrite them as a cohesive set where each prompt naturally hands off to the next. How do non-developers vibe code anything? Tell me, are you watching this video right now? Can you tell me, if you are not a developer and you have vibe coded a full stack app, how did you do this? This is wild to me, all these details, all these decisions that I have to make. Crazy. Okay. Instead of just patching yesterday's prompts, I'd like to rewrite them as a cohesive set where each prompt naturally hands off to the next. I'd also include the API contract prompt we discussed, making the sequence, analyze transcripts, scaffold project and schema, build importer, design API contract and JSON fixtures, build search service and API, minimal HTML fetch proof. Well, not optional. I think we decided we kind of wanted that. You take over the front end. I think we can trim probably 30 to 40% of the wording, remove duplicated instructions, and make the jobs much easier for Codex to follow. I have a feeling these prompts are going to become part of your long-term workflow, so I'd rather make them polished than keep stacking edits on top of edits. I think that's worth doing before you kick off the first Codex job. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. What do you need me to do next? What do you want me to do? I think we're at a good transition point. Before we ask Codex to write a single line of code, let's get the repository organized so the prompts have concrete things to point at. Instead of burying the approved directories inside prompts, make them part of the project. Okay, but wait a second. You said, okay. Okay, but wait. You said the prompts needed one more pass. I'm getting cranky. I'm getting really, really cranky. I'm learning, but you know what? I'm already in my head thinking, yeah, I'm learning. What I gave you were patched prompts. What I actually want to do is redesign the prompt sequence now that I understand where you want to be involved. When we started, I assumed Codex was going to build most of the application. Over the last day, you've clarified something important. You want to build the front end. Codex should build the infrastructure. The API contract is more important than the UI. The importer should never infer readiness. The transcript format is the source of truth. This is going to become a long-term project, not a one-week prototype. Those are big architectural decisions. They deserve prompts that reflect them. I actually want to rewrite them from scratch, not because they're bad, because they're still written from the perspective of let's build an application. I think they should instead read like let's build infrastructure. That's a subtle but important difference. We're like restating everything now. Okay. I also think we have one prompt missing. Right now we have analyze transcripts, scaffold, importer. I think the sequence should be fine. No, I didn't notice anything because I'm not effing reading in this anymore. Okay. For the love of God, can't you just do what you need to do? I'm getting tired of reading all of your thinking. I'm relying on you, in all seriousness, I'm relying on you to write these prompts based on the output and functionality that I want. I don't need to read your entire thought process. Can you please just rewrite the prompts so we can get on with this? I don't know what else to say here. You're right. I was over explaining instead of just doing the work. I rewrote the prompt sequence from scratch into a clean, linear workflow. Analyze transcripts, design database, scaffold project, importer, API contract, API, browser, smoke test. These are intentionally shorter and more focused. Each prompt has an objective, what to read, scope, constraints, done when. That should make them much easier for Codex to execute one at a time. The only thing I'd recommend before you start is to let me do one final quality pass after you've looked at them. I'm not planning another redesign. I just want to check that the wording is precise enough that Codex won't misinterpret anything. Then we can start with prompt 1 and get this project moving. Okay, so let's, I guess, get these download, or I guess we're copying and no, I would prefer to just download. And then I also need to explain what the structure is because I basically have a projects folder that originates. So if we go to, this is basically my user, and then we go to documents. No, it's here, isn't it? It's projects. So it's user projects, and then we have content agent is where the transcripts live, and then YouTube database. So they're basically sibling repositories, right? So we need to explain that, and we'll do that next. And we'll also tell it the transcript directories to start with. My God, we're an hour into this. I have no idea what's going to happen this weekend, people. Okay. YouTube database jobs. And here's design the database. And then I think we should go ahead and just peruse these together. We are prompting Codex today. I don't care how long this takes. So I don't care if we're here for 2 hours or 4 hours. We will start prompting today. This is going to happen. So settle in, people. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere till we start prompting. Got it? Okay, what was that? Number 4, number 5. We'll take a break if we have to. If it gets to be another hour here, we'll just take a 10-minute break. We'll stretch our legs and yeah. All right, so let's take a look at what we got here. So we're basically scrapping prompts 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Analyze. Oh, shoot. No, requirements. Do the requirements have... Did I delete the thing that had... Yes. Hang on. I'm going to put those back. I accidentally deleted... I'm going to restore prompt 1 because that has this right here, and we need this. So we'll just hang on to prompt 1. Okay. Objective, analyze the approved, let's see here. Okay. Analyze the approved transcript directories and document the transcript format. Do not write application code. Okay, so this is just an analyze. Read the requirements. Inspect only the approved transcript directories provided for this job. So that is these right here. Determine the required and optional front matter fields, timestamp, transcript chunk format. Okay. Okay. So yes, this is a very short prompt. Let's see what else we got here. Design the database. Design the SQLite schema only. Read requirements and transcript format analysis. Okay, I think we have to create that. I didn't see that in here. Did it say to, oh yeah, deliverable, transcript format analysis. Got it. Okay. So then I don't think we need this anymore. I'm just going to close it. Scaffold the project, create the project structure, scope, create, done when, okay. Importer, implement the transcript importer, read only the approved transcript directories, okay. API contract, design the JSON returned by the backend before implementing routes. API, implement the backend API, implement a search endpoint, metadata endpoint validation tests. So notice it doesn't specify a particular technology. Is it going to use Express? Is it like, what's it going to use to build these things? I mean, I don't have a strong opinion. I mean, I like Express, but I'm just noticing that it's not specifying that. So create a minimal browser client to verify the API. Provide semantic HTML, simple fetch, minimal rendering of results. This is a disposable proof of concept only. Okay, so I'm happy with all of these. These look very simple to me, which I think is good. So let's explain what our structure is. We'll do it right here. Hang on. So first of all, let's do this. We're going to do this, and then projects, and then content agent, transcripts. right here. So I'm going to take a picture of this so it understands what my internal structure is. So we'll do a picture of that. And then here's the YouTube database. I'm going to do a picture of this. Okay, so we got a couple of screenshots now. And let's also let it know, let's re-upload analyze transcripts so it can see that I added those paths specifically. Okay, it all looks good. Here are two screenshots so you understand my internal folder structure. I also added the correct transcript directories in the first prompt. So there's the screenshots. We're learning, people. We're learning. We're doing it together. I don't know. Do you find this helpful? Do you think it's interesting? Have you vibe coded a full stack app? What were the results? How did this work for you? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Am I overthinking it? Curious to see what people think. Perfect. These screenshots answered the one thing I wasn't sure about. Your layout makes sense. Projects, content agent, YouTube database, and then all these other projects. I actually like this separation a lot. A few comments. Starting with 4 transcript directories is exactly what I would do. Sure, Jan. You actually said start with 1, but we can go with this. Those are your newest projects and therefore the most likely to have the finalized transcript format. Good choice. Yeah, I know. I like that the prompts live in jobs. That makes them part of the repository instead of random documents on your machine. Eventually, you'll probably have something like, and they'll become your permanent project backlog. One tiny suggestion, since the prompts live in the repository, I'd change the read section from if the jobs are executed from inside the jobs folder, or simply, what? I don't understand what it's asking me to do. What's the read section? Is that in the first? Oh. But it's in the same folder, so why does it need to be? I don't know what it's asking me to do. So I wouldn't change prompt 1 anymore. It's intentionally simple. Prompt 1 isn't asking Codex to solve problems. It's asking it to become an expert on your transcript format. That's exactly what you want. I think you're ready. If this were my project, I would stop planning now. I'd run prompt 1 and let Codex inspect those 4 directories. Then we'll review the resulting transcript format analysis together before moving on to prompt 2. That's a natural checkpoint. Once we know Codex correctly understands your transcript format, we can confidently design the schema around the actual data instead of assumptions. Okay, so I don't know, I don't understand what the suggestion is. So, sure. I don't understand your tiny suggestion related related to the requirements .md file. Oh, where Codex is launched from. For example, if your repository looks like this, if Codex is reading the prompt as a file from the jobs directory, I briefly wondered whether it might interpret requirements.md relative to jobs instead of inside the repository root, but then I realized it doesn't matter. The prompt isn't asking Codex to execute a shell command like cat requirements md. It's simply instructing it to read the repository's requirements document. Codex is perfectly capable of finding the file in the repository, so I would leave it exactly as is. I do have one another suggestion. I do have one suggestion that's actually worth making though. In prompt 1, after the list of transcript directories, add one sentence. Treat these directories as the complete scope of analysis. Do not inspect or make assumptions based on any other transcript directories. That removes any ambiguity. Otherwise, I think prompt 1 is ready to go. Said to put it here, right? Okay. I'm planning to copy and paste prompt 1 into Codex now. Yeah, I'm just going to copy and paste the prompts. I think you're ready. Another suggestion. One suggestion before you hit enter, include a short preamble above the prompt to give Codex the project context, something like this. This is the first job in a multi-stepped project. Please complete only this job. Do not anticipate future jobs or begin implementing anything outside the stated scope. If you discover decisions that should be made before implementation, document them in the deliverable rather than making assumptions. So we could actually put this as a preamble before every single prompt. Well, we'll just put it in the first one. I feel like this should say this is, instead of saying this is the first job, we could just say this is a multi-step project. And we could add this to every prompt, right? I mean, things like this are actually pretty helpful, I've noticed. You know what else we should do? We should commit our work before we keep going any further, right? I don't think we need prompt 1 anymore. I think we can delete this. Okay, and then let's let it know what we did. I added this to the beginning of each prompt. Starting now, stay tuned. Okay, we're gonna get started, people. So let's commit. So we're starting clean. Git add, git commit, prompts to build database. Okay. Wow, what do we think? Are we ready? Let's get Codex up and running. Here's Codex. Let's see here. How do we go full screen? They need to fix their UI. They've got issues in the UI. Hang on. New projects. I'm gonna do new start from use an existing folder. YouTube database. But hang on. Enter full screen. There we go. And let's make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. Make sure you guys can see it. Okay. Are we ready? Prompt number 1. This is it, people. All right. I should have put in the whole path for those directories. Hang on. We can stop it. I'm going to update the full path for you. Stay tuned. Okay. This needs the full path, which is just fine. So let's grab that. Where's our, right here. So I'm just gonna grab copy path. We need the full path. So we'll do the first one here. Right? I've done this a few times, realized I didn't have the full, usually it's because I don't have a full file path. So I can stop it and say, I'll fix that and we'll continue. Okay. Well, here we are. What do we think? It's fussy, right? It's fussy. The corpus contains 45 Markdown transcripts and 1 non-transcript DS store. I've confirmed a shared YAML front matter shape, but there are meaningful exceptions, including a blank offset and multiple timestamp precisions. Oh, I have one blank offset. So I am now checking every file for ordering chunk boundaries, multi-line text, and offset ranges before writing the contract. Did I miss one? That's not blank. Oh, oops. Oh, probably I either forgot to add it or it's just 0. I don't know. What was happening? Did something happen on the 7th? Why would that be 0? I must have forgotten to add it. Or on the 5th, rather. That was the day after the 4th of July. I must have forgotten to add it. Let's check our output for the 5th. The timestamps will tell us, yes, I did forget to add it because this timestamp starts at 2:38, but I started talking at 3:11. So that means the offset is, hang on, I'm going to close some of these. So I started talking at 2:38. 60 minus 38 is 22, right? Plus 11. So the offset should be 33 seconds. I don't know if that matters. I guess I missed one. I fixed the missing / blank offset. So I feel like it's probably going to wait to read this, but I could force it to read that. Is that what that? Submit without interrupting the model. Yeah. I've never done that before. I've stopped it, corrected the mistake, and then restarted, but I've never done that before, so we'll see what happens. Hold please. I'm cold. I'm gonna go get my coat, my fleecy Okay, thanks. I'll incorporate the corrected value by rereading that transcript before finalizing. The main compatibility issue I found is that every description blocked is tab indexed, which strict YAML parsers reject. ChatGPT insisted I do that. The deliverable will make that importer decision explicit rather than silently assuming standard YAML. I'm not 100% what that means, but I guess we'll find out. Manish says, for the love of God was a great start of a prompt. Sometimes you just need to figure out a way to get your point across, right? Hold, please. So I am starting to think that maybe we should have started with a much smaller, with just one folder, is what I'm starting to think. Yeah. Okay, something's happening. Okay, so let's refresh what we're supposed to do here. Okay. One thing I'd encourage while prompt one is running is don't be afraid to push back on its analysis. This isn't a test where Codex has to be right. The goal is for the document to accurately describe your transcript format. If it misinterprets something, that's valuable to catch now. Once it's done, here's what I'll look for when you send me the output. Did it correctly identify the front matter fields? Did it correctly understand the transcript chunk format? Did it correctly explain stream offset seconds? Did it find any real inconsistencies, or did it invent concerns? Did it propose a parsing contract that is simple and implementable? If those are solid, I expect prompt 2 database design to go much more smoothly because it will be based on verified input instead of assumptions. I'll be here, okay. What was this here? After Codex finishes, don't move on to prompt 2 immediately. Instead, read through the doc's transcript format analysis. Make sure it correctly understands. Okay. That's the one checkpoint in this process where it's worth being meticulous. If the parsing contract is correct, everything downstream, the schema, importer, and API, becomes much more straightforward. Whoops. Okay. It created transcript format analysis. It documents the parsing contract, validation rules, objects, offset calculation, edge cases, and all 45 inspected transcripts. No transcript or application files were modified. The pre-existing change to analyze transcript was left untouched. Okay, so let's check and see. Transcript format analysis. This is a long document. Okay, well, let's peruse it and then we'll show it to ChatGPT. This contract is based only on jobs requirements and the 45 markdown files in the 4. Okay. File discovery and paths. front matter. This is a table, so let's turn off word wrap. Every inspected Markdown file begins at byte line 1 and has a closing. So we've got title, date, YouTube video ID, YouTube URL, stream offset seconds, project repository description, contract required, non-empty string, date string, non-empty string, absolute URL, stream offset seconds, non-negative integer, project, non-empty string, repository, absolute URL, description, required non-empty folded block string, observed from. Okay, it's interesting, right? No optional front matter files were observed. The requirements do not define how future unknown files should be handled. Front matter looks like YAML, but it is not strict. Body and timestamp syntax. After the closing front matter delimiter, the body is a sequence of timestamp markers and text. Okay, well, let's just, I don't want to, let's just have it read it. Okay. Here you go. Okay, I was expecting to find several things to tighten up, but honestly, this is a much stronger document than I anticipated. It reads like something a senior engineer would hand another developer before implementation. I only have a handful of comments. Good. Can't wait. Biggest win. It found something we would have missed. This. The front matter looks like YAML, but it is not strict YAML because the description is tab indexed. By the way, ChatGPT, you were the one who told me to do that. Like, you were extremely specific about how the description should be tab indexed. That could have turned into a frustrating importer bug. Now it's documented up front. Huge win. It answered the offset question. Perfect. It confirmed YouTube equals the local minus the offset. Positive offset only. Exactly what we hoped. That means prompt 2 can safely design around that rule. The parser contract is excellent. I especially like that it documented multi-line chunks, duplicate timestamps, last chunk is null, marker regex, timestamp precision. That's the kind of stuff that saves time later. I would change one thing, this section. Reject transcript if, and specifically file name must equal date. I would remove that validation, not because it's wrong, because I don't want the importer coupling itself to file name conventions. Okay, so let's find this. Okay, so I feel like I understand now what we did. The file is not valid. The required field is absent. Date is not real. Sorry, was I supposed to be able to find that exact language here? File name must equal date. Okay, well, I can't find this language. File name. Okay. Date, so redirect a transcript when any of these conditions applies. Date is not a real calendar date with this format. The approved corpus also supports validating that it equals the file name stem. Do so for only file names while documenting a policy. Okay, so what part of this do I just delete the whole thing? Okay, decide whether unknown fields are rejected. Easy decision. Ignore them always. I wouldn't store source timestamp. It suggested source timestamp as optional. I'd skip it. How much more? What? Okay. What part of this do I change? Okay, so just remove the last sentence. Okay. So that was what? That was like number 3. Oh, no, that was number 4. Okay, that was number 4. Unknown front matter. It says decide whether unknown fields are rejected. Easy decision, ignore them always. That gives you forward compatibility. The importer shouldn't care. Okay, but you're saying that it says this and it doesn't say this, so how am I supposed to find it? Unknown fields. Unknown. Okay. The approved corpus has exactly 8 fields, but requirements do not say whether unknown future fields are errors. Decide strict rejection versus forward compatible, ignore preserve behavior before implementation. Great. So how... Okay. I'm doing these one at a time. What do I do with this? Okay, replace the entire bullet with this. Unknown front matter fields should be ignored. The importer should parse and store only the fields required by the current schema, allowing additional metadata to be added in the future without breaking existing imports. So I think we can just put this in. Okay. Excellent. What's the next one? Last chunk, null. Perfect. I wouldn't store source timestamp. It suggested source timestamp as optional. I'd skip it. You already have local start seconds, which is the canonical value. If you ever need, you can format it. I'd keep one representation. Okay, let's see if we can find this. Okay. So what am I actually doing here? Is it please chat, tell me, am I being silly to be frustrated with some of this? It's like, okay, I'm suggesting this, but it's not actually telling me what to do. I have to like say, okay, so what do I actually do here? Okay, so what do I actually do with this? I'd simplify it and make the decision now. Replace the entire section after the JSON example with. Oh, so we're really just saying, no thank you. Thanks for the suggestion, but no thank you. Okay. What's next? Okay, 8. One thing that became obvious while reading this, I don't think you need a complicated importer anymore. The parser is basically read the file, normalize front matter, find timestamp markers, build chunks, insert. Great. The biggest surprise, this statistic made me smile. That's a beautiful amount of data, big enough to be interesting, still tiny for SQLite. Okay. Prompt 1 has already paid for itself. This is why I wanted this phase. We learned things that affect implementation. Oh, which makes me think, let's go back to number 1. We have to ask what we actually need to do about this. So what do we actually do about this? It's not saying what to actually do about this. Back to the first point. What do we actually do about this? This is actually the one thing I wouldn't resolve in the analysis document. I'd resolve it in the importer. The analysis is simply reporting an observation. That's useful information. The implementation decision belongs in prompt 4. What should the importer do? I'd choose the simplest approach. Read the file into memory, extract the front matter, replace the leading tab on the description block with spaces in memory only, parse the normalized front matter with a standard YAML parser, never modify the source file. Oh, why I wouldn't write a custom parser. Thank God you told me not to write a custom parser. That was my next thought. Stop. Okay. This was a lot. Should I run prompt 2? Okay. So we made a few policy decisions. Don't validate file names against dates. Ignore unknown front matter fields. Don't store source timestamp. Normalize the tab indentation in memory before. Oh, I didn't actually change anything regarding this. It said here, this is actually the one thing I wouldn't resolve in the analysis document. I'd resolve it in the importer. I'd revise the analysis slightly. Instead of the importer must either A, use a narrowly defined front matter parser, or B, normalize, I'd make it more decisive. The front matter is functionally YAML, but contains tab indented description blocks that are not valid under strict YAML parsing. The importer should normalize the indentation in memory before parsing with a standard YAML parser. The source transcript files must never be modified. Okay. So I guess I do need to update this. Okay, so we have to try and find this now. Front matter parser. I think this is it. Yeah. The front matter looks like YAML, but it is not strict YAML. Every inspected description block is indented with a tab, which strict YAML parsers reject. The importer must either A, use, okay, so I think this is what we need to replace. The importer must either A, use a narrowly defined front matter parser for these 8 fields, or B, normalize the leading description tab to spaces in memory before YAML parsing. That's frustrating because ChatGPT was very explicit about how this needs to be formatted like this, with this little caret, and that this needs to be tabbed like that. It was like, no, you need to do that way. That's how that needs to look. That's frustrating to me. But okay. Okay. So I guess I'm just going to run prompt 2. We got to get on with this. Okay, where's the second prompt? So we made all of our updates here. So here's prompt 2. Are you with me so far? All right, here we go. I'm starting to wonder if this is ever going to happen. Okay. Please. Okay. I'll design only the persistence layer from the 2 approved documents. I'll create the design rationale plus a standalone reviewable SQL schema without executing it or building any application components. So here's what we asked it to do. Design the SQLite schema only. read the requirements and the format analysis, design the transcripts table, transcript chunks table, FTS5 search, indexes, foreign keys, search strategy. Document why each table exists. Create a docs database design.md SQL schema. Constraints: do not build the importer API or front end. Done when the schema fully supports the project requirements and can be reviewed before implementation. All right. I mean, we're only on prompt 2. We're almost at 2 hours. I'm going to keep going. Why not? Okay. The design will use normalized transcript chunk tables and an external content FTS5 index over chunk text. That keeps search results tied directly to timestamps while avoiding a second redundant full transcript search index. I'll document the one unresolved product semantic, whether match count means matching chunks or literal term occurrences, rather than silently choosing a UI meaning. All right. Well, even though I'm easily frustrated with some of this back and forth, it's pretty clear that I I mean, I don't know. I'm learning a lot about just the requirements gathering process for this type of thing, the decision making that has to go into this, prompting in a way that keeps things efficient and we're not burning through resources. Let's see where we're at so far on usage. I mean, oh, this is interesting. It's only giving me a weekly. It's not giving me like that 5-hour limit. And we have 3 available resets if we need it. So my weekly resets on July 25th. Is that happen for everybody where they took away that 5-hour thing? That's probably good, right? If we need to do a reset, we can. That's new. So they're not timing you out after 5 hours. We're about 5 minutes in. Well, I don't see, now I'm starting to think that this might not be super exciting to sit and watch. Is there anything else I can entertain you with in the meantime? I don't know. Anybody have any anybody have any questions in the chat? Uh, Not really. All right. Well, we're gonna play. I guess we're just gonna play it by ear. Okay, go away. Yeah, this does make me think that I should have started with just one project because I'm thinking now that the time for this to work through all these items is going to be directly related to the amount of data that I chose to start with. Gogo Elmo says, how are you feeling about the process so far? I feel good about the process so far. Um, Part of this is a good question. Part of why I have been, let's go here. I think this is actually a really good um, question to answer. Part of the reason why I have been so dismissive of um, the real power of AI and coding is because until this agentic process, everything has been a copy paste exercise. And I think it is glaringly obvious why that really sucks. Because even though you share files, it's just so hard to communicate with ChatGPT. It makes assumptions. It thinks I know exactly where something is. It's too either overly specific or really, really broad. It doesn't give me enough information. It kind of treats me like I can parse data as quickly as it can sometimes. Oh, now it's asking me to do something, run this command. So it's saying, allow ChatGPT to run this command. Yeah, go ahead. The schema and rationale are written. I'm validating the SQL against a temporary in-memory style database now, including FTS, insert, update, delete, synchronization, and cascading deletes. This does not create the project database. The first validation exposed an important SQLite compatibility issue. This environment disables trusted schema behavior, which prevents ordinary triggers from writing to an FTS virtual table. I'm adjusting the design so FTS synchronization remains explicit and transactionally safe during the required full rebuild without weakening SQLite's schema safety setting. I mean, okay. So how are you feeling about the process so far? It's really just exposing my frustration with the copy paste method of using ChatGPT. This has not been my experience in the agentic workflows that I've done up till this point. The agentic workflows up until this point were things that already existed. They were legacy code bases. So I could go to Codex, connect the folder, and ChatGPT helped me write prompts that basically said, ChatGPT can automatically approve eligible actions while it works. This may use more credits. Let's do it. Let's just do it. It was an easier process to go from something that was legacy to updated than it is to start from scratch. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Also, the workflows that I used a few weeks ago were front end only. They weren't a database. They weren't full stack. They had APIs that were already built and running. So this is different. This is a lot more complex. And Malik says, interesting. Yes, that makes sense. Having to blatantly explain it could be annoying in my opinion. Humans have a way of knowing the person process and knowing what to do without being told. I think what I don't like is just that, I lost my mouse. I think what I don't like is just that ChatGPT is not suitable for these back and forth copy paste complex exercises. It's just not its strength. It has a lot of trouble. Okay, so now we have the database design and the database schema. So here's our database design and our database schema. This is exciting. Okay, here's our database design. This design covers only SQLite persistence and search. It is derived from, okay, design summary. The database has 2 authoritative relational tables and 1 derived. Okay. I mean, I guess this all looks fine. Okay. The results of prompt 2. The schema itself looks good. I would approve it and move on after making 2 small edits to the design document. Remove the premature search result decision. The document currently decides group by transcript for 1 result, row per transcript. We have not decided that yet, and it belongs in the API contract job. Replace that sentence and the preceding numbered step 5 to 6 with okay. So at least told us where to do it. That's good. Okay. Group by transcript for 1 result row per transcript. That's number 6. Replace that sentence and the preceding numbered step 5 to 6 with. Okay, so return matching chunk and transcript data in a form that supports the API contract, whether the API returns 1 row per matching chunk or aggregates matches into 1 row per transcript will be decided during API design. This decision does not require a schema change. Okay, so now for things like this, I'm liking this process because I would never know to specify that. I would have no idea. So the current schema supports either option, so nothing in database schema SQL needs to change. Correct the stable parent key. The transcripts.id description says stable parent key and SQLite row identifier. Because every import completely rebuilds the data, IDs may be reassigned. Change it to parent key and SQLite row identifier. Okay, let's see if we can find this. Change it with the transcripts ID. Okay. That is all I would change. For match count, I agree with Codex's recommendation for version 1, number of matching chunks within a transcript, not the total number of literal word occurrences. We can formally lock that down during prompt 5. The table's constraints, indexes, FTS5 structure, timestamp storage, and full rebuild approach are all appropriate. You can run prompt 3, scaffold the project after those 2 edits. Okay, I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable with the process now because I feel like this is just moving along a little smoother. So close these. We need number 3. Okay. Here we go. What do we think? What do we think so far? Janupala Silva is here. Hello, welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out. We're moving right along. So I think while this is working, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. All right. I'll be back. All right. Well, wait, what just happened? Okay. Whoa. Hello. Wait, what did we ask it to do? Okay, prompt 3, scaffold the project. Objective, create the project structure. Scope, create the, oh, look, oh, there's stuff. There's stuff. Create the repository structure, package configuration, database initialization, configuration files, and placeholder content. Okay, wait, what do we do? Wait, so what do we do now? I honestly didn't think we were gonna get this path. didn't get this far. Okay, verification passed. NPM run build NPM test. SQLite pragma quick check. All database tables initialized with 0 rows. No importer API or front-end behavior was implemented. Okay, so here's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this just to let ChatGPT know what happened. Great. Prompt 3 is complete and stayed within scope. Run prompt 4, build the importer next. This is exciting. Before you paste it into Codex, make sure config transcript directories.js contains exactly these approved directories. And make sure the importer uses your local repository root. So let's look at config transcript directories.js. Yeah, this will be nice. So as I finish projects, I can run the importer just by updating this, I'm guessing, right? And make sure the importer uses your local repository root, ideally through content agent root equals. Okay, so does this exist someplace? Let's see if we can find it. Okay, so I think that this needs to be in here, right? Someplace. So let's upload these 2 files and see. Where do I add the Oh, you already did. This is exactly what I was hoping to see. In paths.js, you have, that means if content agent root exists, the application uses it. Otherwise, it falls back to content agent. Relative to the YouTube, here we go. Relative to the YouTube database project. Given your folder structure, the fallback resolves to, which is exactly where your repository lives, so you don't have to do anything. In fact, I like this better than forcing an environment variable because it makes the project just work on your machine while still allowing someone else or future you to override it by setting content agent root. I also checked your transcript directories.js. That's exactly how I would have written it. My recommendation, don't touch either file. The defaults are sensible. The override mechanism is there if you ever need it. And the importer prompt can use content agent root without any additional configuration. You're in really good shape. Prompt 4 is the one I've been waiting for, the importer. Okay, so let's do another commit to just to save our spot, right? Okay, let's do another commit. So prompt 3 is complete. Let's make sure that we're committing after every prompt. I feel like we should be doing that, right? Prompt 3 is complete. Okay. All right. Prompt 4 is next. Importer. Implement the transcript importer. Everybody can see, right? Is this big enough for people? Hopefully. Implement the transcript importer, read requirements, format analysis, database design, read only the approved transcript directories, importer responsibilities, validate directories, parse the front matter, parse the transcript chunks, validate data, rebuild the database safely, rebuild the FTS index, report import statistics, use the verified stream offset rules from the transcript analysis. Do not build the API or front end. It's done when running the importer produces a complete searchable SQLite database. Okay. We're vibe coding, baby. What do we think? We're vibe coding. I don't know, should we be using something more advanced or are we okay? Feels okay. I feel like things are going fine. It's going, we're only down to 98%, you guys. Okay. All right. Ooh, I'm chilly. I'm chilly. Designing robust front matter parser and SQLite import. Okay. I'll implement the importer as a pre-validate then commit pipeline. Every approved file is parsed and validated in memory before a single replacement transaction begins. The CLI will use only the 4 configured directories, preserve duplicate timestamps and millisecond precision, rebuild FTS inside the transaction, and leave the previous database intact on failure. I can live with that. I'm hoping that next weekend we're just doing all front end work. So tomorrow, I think we're going to have this built today unless something goes awry. I think tomorrow we'll work on that fetch and render step and make sure that the filters are working correctly. And then I think next weekend we will nail down the final, that will give me a week to come up with how I really want those results to look, the actual table to look. And then we can start to go in and redo the render and work on the front end stuff. I think that'll be good for next weekend. I don't think we'll get that done in one weekend, but we'll start next weekend. So what's number 5? API. Hmm. I didn't have anything planned for this downtime. Sorry. Um, can I tell you a joke or something? No, I can't think of one, and I'm a terrible joke teller. And anything that I could think of is, I'm sure would get me canceled if I said it out loud in a live stream. Um, Sorry. I do watch back my streams sometimes, and I'm like, wow, you're really boring. Is it just the content or is it you? I think it's a little of both. Is what it is, right? I mean, I'm thinking about how frustrating it was to get to this point. We still got here pretty quickly, and look at all this other stuff. I mean, this is obviously stuff that would take me 5 million years to write. So where is our, did we not install? So how did it run npm build if there's no node modules folder here? So I don't understand. Well, I'm gonna ask that question. Malik says, I'm enjoying it so far. Can't be all gas all the time. Have to slow down and hit the brakes sometimes. Yeah, that's true. So I'm just gonna do this real quick. I want to ask ChatGPT. Prompt 4 is running. I'll let you know when it's done. Why is there no node modules folder? How did it successfully run npm run build without it? Good catch. There are a few possibilities, but one is much more likely than the others. Most likely, Codex didn't actually install anything. If package.json has scripts and you're only using Node's built-in modules, then there may not be any dependencies to install. In that case, npm run build works, npm test works. Node modules directory is created because npm install was never needed. Second possibility, if package.json contains dependencies like, then node modules should exist. If it doesn't, then either Codex forgot to run npm install or it reported doing something it didn't actually do. I suspect we're about to find out. Prompt 4 is probably the first prompt that actually needs packages like better SQLite 3, YAML, maybe glob. If they're, oh my God. Can we just, I would like to read this just for comedy's sake. If it doesn't, then either Codex forgot to run npm install or it reported doing something it didn't actually do. Let's just sit with that for a second. Can you do me a favor? Open your package.json and paste it here. I want to see. This is like, you know what this sounds like? Sounds like when my mom calls me and she's like, can you do me a favor? Okay, let's just add it here. I want to see the dependencies, the dev dependencies, the scripts. That will tell us in about 10 seconds whether the missing node modules directory is completely expected or whether something was skipped during prompt 3. Okay. And also, hold please. Okay, mystery solved. Your package.json has no dependencies and no dev dependencies. That means no npm install, no node modules, no package lock.json. Everything it's doing right now uses node itself. For example, build node check. Node check just parses the JavaScript files to make sure they're syntactically valid. Likewise, test, node test. Node has a built-in test runner since Node 18, so no jest, vite test, or mocha is required. I actually like this. It means prompt 3 stayed within scope. It didn't prematurely decided you needed express, better SQLite 3, gray matter, YAML, glob, or anything else. That's good engineering discipline. I suspect prompt 4 will change this. Once the importer is implemented, I expect you'll need at least something like dependencies better SQLite 3 gray matter or dependencies SQLite 3 YAML, depending on the approach Codex chooses. At that point, you'll see a node modules directory package lock.json appear after it installs packages. One thing I really like, prompt 3 didn't make any technology decisions for you. That's exactly what we wanted. The first time I expect to see external packages is when Codex has to answer questions like, how do I parse Markdown front matter? How do I talk to SQLite? How do I traverse directories? Those are implementation decisions that belong in prompt 4, not prompt 3. So I actually consider the absence of node modules a sign that the prompts are working well. Okay. So we're done here. Let's see. Implemented the transcript importer. So now we have importer documentation, parser tests, an updated package.json. Full import results, 4 approved directories, 45 transcripts, 62,219 chunks, 62,219 FTS rows, offset ranging from 0 to 137 seconds, FTS integrity and search verified, all tests pass. Run future rebuilds with npm run import. No API or front-end behavior was implemented. So that makes me think that I would update this every time I finish a group or project worth of transcripts. I would update this and npm import. So that's good. It's simple. And I will make sure also that we have a really good README. In fact, we'll do that last. We'll do a README today. That will be our last thing. So let's copy this and put it into ChatGPT. And then while this is percolating, let's make sure that we're committing. Git status, git add, git commit, prompt 5 is finished. So we can easily go back if we need to. Go back in time if we need to, right? Okay. This is the milestone. You now have a working pipeline. Markdown transcripts, importer, SQLite, FTS5. Everything after this is just, is just exposing and presenting the data. A few observations. 45 transcripts, 62,219 chunks. That ratio feels right for live streams. It also means the chunking logic is working. If something were wrong, you'd expect either an absurdly low chunk count or an absurdly high one. FTS row count matches the chunk count. That's exactly what we wanted. Every chunk is searchable. Offset range. I actually like that statistic. It validates the assumptions from prompt 1 and tells us you don't have crazy outliers like 20-minute offsets. NPM run import. This is one of those little things that will pay dividends. Agreed. 6 months from now, you'll barely remember how the importer works, but you'll remember run the import. That's a good developer experience. I think prompt 4 is done. I wouldn't revisit it unless you discover a real bug. Now we get to the fun part. So Malik Robinson says, great progress today. Thank you. I agree. Does that mean you're leaving? I know that this is the mods. If the mods have to leave, hang on. I totally understand. Hang on, my chair is weird. If the mods need to leave, because I am going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, but I think we have a really good crowd today. Quiet crowd. So, I understand because I didn't tell them that I was going to be here for longer than 2 hours today. So, just want to acknowledge that if you have to leave, I understand. So, okay. Now we get to the fun part, prompt 5. This is probably my favorite prompt in the sequence because it's where the database stops being a database and becomes an application. The goal is not to write express routes. The goal is to answer questions like, what does one search result look like? What exactly comes back from API search? And what does the front end need so it never has to understand stream offsets? What does the front end need so it never has to understand stream offsets? This is where we'll lock down the JSON contract. One thing I'd like to change before prompt 5. Earlier, we postponed one decision. 1 row per transcript versus 1 row per matching chunk. Now is the time to settle it. After thinking about it over the last day, my recommendation is still 1 API result equals 1 matching chunk. I mean, that feels like reasonable to me because the chunk is just the reference to the keyword, right? And then the whole point of these timestamps is I go find that part of the video and I rewatch that if I need to, right? It's to locate the transcript itself and decide for myself if that transcript, which is why the match count matters, right? Yeah, I can see that now. If a live stream has 12 matching chunks, the API returns 12 rows. Why? Because when you're searching your own content, you're usually trying to answer, where did I say that? Not which live stream mentioned that. You can always group or collapse results in the UI later if you decide that's a better experience. Going from chunk level data to transcript level summaries is easy. Going the other direction after the API is designed is much harder. My recommendation, take a break if you need one, you've earned it. But when you're ready, move on to prompt 5. I think the project has reached the point where every subsequent prompt will feel more immediately rewarding because you'll start seeing searchable results instead of just infrastructure. Okay, well, we took a break. So I guess what I want to know is, what is it that we need to change? I agree with what ChatGPT is proposing. So what do I need to do to like lock that in? Okay. I took a break and stretched my legs. I agree with your suggestion. What do I need to do to lock that in? Add one explicit decision to requirements.md, then add the same sentence to prompt 5. Use this in requirements.md. Then add this under the scope section of prompt 5. Also remove or revise any wording in database design that still says results should be grouped to one row per transcript. That locks it in cleanly. Okay, well, let's start with requirements. I'm going to put it here. Then add this under the scope section of prompt 5. Okay. Also remove or revise any wording in database design that still says results should be grouped to one row per transcript. Okay, you're just gonna have to tell me what to change in here. I changed everything else. This document is too big. Please let me know if I should change anything here too. I only see one thing I'd change. Right now you have whether the API returns one row per matching chunk or aggregates matches into one row per transcript will be decided during API. You already made the decision. Replace that entire paragraph with step 5. Then a few paragraphs below, you have match count decision required before implementation. You can remove that entire section. Okay. So whether, hopefully we can find this. Return matching chunk and transcript data in a form that supports the API contract. Replace the entire paragraph with this. Then a few paragraphs below, you have match count decision required before implementation. Let's see if we can find this. And it says, remove that entire section. So replace that whole section with something much shorter. match count is defined as the number of matching transcript chunks within the parent transcript. This value is returned. Okay, so it's the match per transcript. Got it. This value is returned with each matching chunk, so the front end may display or sort by the total number of matching chunks found in that transcript. Got it. Okay. So that was number. So we're ready to do number 5, right? We just did number 4, so we're ready to do number 5. Am I right? I'm losing count. Oh, one small typo I noticed. I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna sneeze. Hang on. Okay. Where was this? I think is it here? I forgot the R. Okay. Okay. Let's do it. All right. HBKF is here. We have started working on a new project. Oh, and Malik was just saying no. Since you hit a milestone, just wanted to let you know, good job. Maybe now is a good time to remind people to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new here. I would obviously love to have you. I'm for sure here on Saturdays and Sundays, usually around 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm pretty sure that I'm adding Fridays at noon. That is just working really well. So for sure Saturdays and Sundays, but I think Fridays for the foreseeable future because it just kind of works out really good. So yeah, liking and subscribing helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content, and it helps the channel grow. And I would appreciate it so much. So there's that. Okay, come on. Malik Robinson coming in with custom emojis for the members. We do have memberships on this channel, and I've been promising members only content, and I'm still planning to do it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Yeah, it's coming. Okay. I'll define the two route contracts and create static JSON fixtures from the imported database's real records. I'll keep results chunk level, include backend derived local and YouTube timestamps and timestamp URLs, and record exact semantics for matching counts, errors, and filters without implementing any route code. The current database design resolves the earlier open question, match count. Open question, match count is the number of matching chunks in the parent transcript. I'll encode that directly Use positive relevance score values where larger means more relevant. Require a non-blank query to preserve matching chunk semantics, and make timestamp formatting flooring explicit in the contract. Documenting search API contract and metadata. I would really like to see just a basic working filter before we end today. And I think we're getting pretty close. Still, we haven't installed Node yet. Edited files. The contract and 3 fixtures are draft. Okay. Oops. Oopsies. Sorry. The contract defines chunk level results, query filter validation, timestamp and URL calculations, relevance and match count semantics, metadata, and errors. Fixtures were validated as JSON and cross-checked against the current database. No routes or backend behavior were implemented. So we have the API contract, search fixture, metadata fixture, error fixture. This is exactly where I hoped we'd be by the end of the day. Think about what you have now. Requirements, transcript analysis, database design, project scaffold, working importer, 62,219 searchable chunks, API contract, JSON fixtures. At this point, the application is no longer an idea. It's a backend waiting for 2 things, API implementation and a front end. That's a fantastic place to be. I actually don't want to review prompt 5 unless something feels wrong. Why? Well, it wouldn't be prompt 5, it would be prompt 6. Didn't we just run prompt 5? So I think you mean prompt 6. Because we intentionally separated contract from implementation. If I start second guessing, if you start second guessing the contract now, why is this sentence necessary? If you start second guessing the contract now, you'll never build anything. Fuck off. Come on. Why would you say that? I don't understand that sentence. Instead, I treat it like this. This is version 1 of the contract. Implement it. If after you have a browser hitting API search, you discover, I wish I had one more field, then that's a justified contract revision, not a theoretical one. What was the point of this? We're done. We ran prompt 5. I'd run it. This is the first time Codex actually gets to write application code. It should already know the schema, the importer, the JSON contract. Now it's just wiring those pieces together. Something else occurred to me. You now have fixtures. That means you can start building the front end before the API is finished if you ever want to. For example, fetch, test, fixtures, search response, JSON instead of, okay. The HTML doesn't care. That's one of the reasons I was so enthusiastic about having the contract before the routes. I also noticed something about your workflow. This has become very real world. You're basically doing this. Architect requirements, Codex review, approve, next ticket. Okay. A couple of hours. Okay. Don't stop now, run prompt 6. I don't know. I just work here. So here's prompt 6. Implement the backend API. Where's this API contract? Should we look at this? Oh, we need to commit our work. This is a big document. This document defines the front-end facing JSON contract before route implementation. It is based on jobs/requirements and the current schema in the database schema SQL. The fixtures are static examples derived from the imported database. All responses use content type application JSON. Okay, contract decisions. So if you're a full stack developer and you're watching this right now, or if you're on the replay, is this normal when you build a full stack app with a backend and a database that you have all of these Markdown documents with like contracts and requirements? I get that the prompts are very specific to Codex, but is this a normal part of the process where you're doing this type of documentation? I'm just curious. Query parameters, unknown query parameters receive, okay. Okay, so we probably don't need to read all of this. So here's prompt 6. Oh, we have to commit our work. Prompt 5 is complete. Okay. So here's prompt 6. Okay. We'll see what happens next. Okay. Stop. I'll implement the documented API as a small node HTTP server, keeping SQLite access parameterized through the CLI's bound parameters. I'll add route level validation and integration tests against a temporary seeded database with no production front end changes. Diagnosing parameter quoting issue. Don't know what that means. Well, we only have one more prompt after this. I mean, I think at the very least it would be cool to see just like a basic to see our, well, we should to see a like just even a basic API endpoint, basic HTML table form filter results, right? And then tomorrow we could dig in and do our own. We'll figure out how we want things to look. And how we want things to function. I'm not sure what we're going to do tomorrow, honestly. I have to see. I have to see what we end up with here today to decide even what the next steps are tomorrow. Tomorrow could end up being kind of like a planning day, right? Hmm. Um, Once again, I find myself with no way to entertain you while this is running. Sorry about that. Is there anything else that we can look at? Read? Well, let's look at the next prompt, maybe. Okay, so browser smoke test. Create a minimal browser client to verify the API. Provide semantic HTML, simple fetch, minimal rendering of results. This is a disposable proof of concept only. Do not build the production front end styling components or interactions. A developer can verify the API in a browser before building the real front end. Yep. Sounds about right. I guess we're going to keep this open. Still don't see a node modules back here. Okay. All 8 tests now pass. Oh. Including live HTTP integration against a temporary FTS5. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. This is exciting. Okay. You now have Markdown transcripts, importer, SQLite, and FTS5, Search API, stable JSON contract. The front end is next. This is my favorite part. Live responses exactly match the documented search and metadata fixtures. That sentence tells me the process worked. Normally people do this. Back end, front end. Oh, I need one more field. Back end changes, front end changes, repeat. You avoided that by designing the contract first. That's a professional workflow. I also love this temporary database HTTP integration tests. That tells me Codex didn't just test individual functions, it tested the API. That's exactly the level of confidence you want before you start building the UI. Here's what I would not do. I would not let Codex continue into the browser. This is where I'd take over. Remember what you told me a few days ago. I want to do the majority of the front end work. I think this is the perfect handoff point. No, wait a second. There's still one more. Did it forget that we were going to have it do a basic? Okay. But wait. There's still one more prompt. AI is not taking over anything ever. Never. It's good. It's improved in the last year. It's improved in the last 6 months. It's not taking over anything. That's absolute nonsense. If you hear somebody saying that, just play this part of the video. The important part is what it says, not, yeah. Okay, the purpose of, yeah, I know what the purpose is. Here's what I would expect prompt 7 to produce. Nothing fancy, something like input type search, a search button. Actually, I don't even think we need a search button. I think we just need like a good debounced input. But let's see what it comes up with. So yes, I'd run prompt 7 exactly as written. And then tomorrow we can start deciding for ourselves what that HTML is going to look like. So let's make sure. Let's commit our work, start fresh. Prompt 6 is completed. Okay. So while this is running, I actually have some questions that a couple things I'm not sure about here. So, okay. While prompt 7 is running, is this an app that needs an npm build step or npm run ... to actually work? From everything you've shown me, I don't think it should. In fact, I hope it doesn't. Excuse me. Your stack is essentially Node.js, SQLite, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's already a production capable stack. The server should be serve the API, serve the static files and client, the browser downloads, no bundling required. So npm start starts the server. Then we browse to localhost 3000. Okay. When you make front-end changes, save client main.js, refresh the browser, done. No build step, no run dev, just npm start. The only npm commands I expect this project to need are npm start. If run the application, so if we need to import, then it would be npm run import to get the database from the transcripts, run the test suite. Those 3 commands are about as simple as it gets. Which reminds me, we need to make sure that this Codex writes a README file for us. Okay. Okay. Oh boy. Oh, and it does have some things here. Implemented the disposable browser proof of concept, minimal semantic HTML, fetch and rendering script, static file serving. Verification completed. The build passes. All 9 tests pass. Browser loaded metadata. Exact phrase search. YouTube timestamps. No browser console errors. Run npm start, then open localhost 3000. No production styling components or front-end architecture was added. Wow. Okay. Too much hovering. NPM start. Oh boy, what do we think is going to happen? What do we think is going to happen? Whoops. NPM start. Okay, so. Okay, I didn't mean to have that open here. What do we think is going to happen? Whoa. Move this out of the way. You guys, did we do it? What? Wow. So it's interesting. It's not, it wouldn't do like a partial. So dev op, but dev ops. Okay, that's, I mean, that's cool. Search mode. Oh, it's an exact phrase. Search mode. Keywords. Angela, you didn't even look. Oh, but it still didn't. It's still not a full keyword though. Okay, what else? What should I search for? What else? What do we? What else am I searching for? Um, how about? So this is every mention of SCSS in those 45 transcripts, which that tracks. Okay, so now let's open the matching YouTube timestamp, which gives us, oh, this is, hang on. Why don't you prefer SCSS? I'm not sure that I ever said that I didn't prefer. Well, I mean, I like vanilla JavaScript just because I like, so I was a Sass user for over a decade, many years. I mean, I started learning Sass in, it works. That is exactly what I wanted. I I wanted to be able to, I wanted to be like, oh, when did I talk about that? Or like refresh my memory. Okay, styling an accessible dashboard layout. UI, since I know you've been leaning towards vanilla CSS and talking about moving away from SCSS like a year ago. Okay, so this would be like the matching timestamp. Hang on. Since I know you've been leaning toward vanilla CSS and talking about moving away from SCSS like a year ago, at layer and CSS variables is probably worth experimenting with. That is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be able to go to those exact points in the video, hear myself talk about those things so I could remember what I was referring to. That's exactly what I wanted. And now I know exactly which things. So there's still a ton of work to do. There's still a ton of work to do because the results now, how we organize our results, is going to be the really, really powerful part. Also, I want to see the API. We're not actually seeing the API, right? So how do I see our end? Where do we see our endpoints? Okay, hang on. I'm all over the place here. So first of all, let's let ChatGPT know that this is working. Wow, it's working perfectly, you guys. Works perfectly. YouTube timestamps are perfect. I want to see my API endpoints in the browser. Okay. So since the app is running at here, open these directly in the browser. So API metadata. Oh, and then here's the search, the search, the search. I want to see this right here. Oh. So here's their number of transcripts, our number of chunks. And then these are all of our projects. Yeah. Oh, look at this. So these were the drop downs I wanted to create. I wanted to have a projects drop down. I wanted to have, oh, look, it even did the labels for us. I wanted to have a date drop down. That's all we have so far. I mean, I couldn't really think of any other metadata to capture for drop downs because I really see this as mostly being really focused on keyword search, like me thinking like, oh, I know I talked about this before, but when did I talk about it? And then being able to identify that particular stream, clicking on the YouTube link to go to that part of the video and actually watch myself talk about it so I could like refresh my memory. This works perfectly. Now let's see what our data looks like with a keyword search. So this is perfect. So now our API is going to return everything related to SCSS, which we already saw the results, but I want to see these objects. So first we have a query object. It's text, it's a keyword. Project and month are null. The summary is the result count, the transcript count. So this is really good for some of that data, especially for accessibility. I mean, I'm building it for me, but it's still a good idea to include those things like naming the results and having ARIA live and polite and things like that. So now we've got an ID for the chunk, the transcript ID, the chunk ordinal. This is the title of the video that it came from, the date of the video, the project, the repository, the description. So this is all working good despite all of the YAML drama. And look at everything else that we're capturing here. Wow. So look at everything that we have here that we can make decisions about and what we want to show in the results. Because we're not showing, I mean, we're showing, I guess we're showing, so here's the project, here's the date, here's the timestamp in YouTube, here's the excerpt, here's the link, and then here's the path to the actual file locally, and then the title. And then it is printing metadata, 3 matching chunks and 2 transcripts. Wow. Wow. Let's look at, wow. I mean, Wow. This is pretty cool. Client. Okay. So here's where our front end lives. Let's look at this. So here's where we're fetching our data. Here's our render. Wow. So in order for us to, refactor this and figure and decide how we want this to look, here's what we need to do. We need to, hopefully this isn't too disappointing for people. First of all, we need to figure out what the rest of our form stuff is, right? So we'll get in our drop downs for the month, date, and the project. We'll do that first. We'll style the form. And then here's the results right here. It's an ordered list. We are going to build a table. So we are going to build a table here with some, we're going to start working on this tomorrow. I don't know how much we're going to get done tomorrow. We'll do as much as we can in 2 hours, but we will have a very good sense of, we may have to like open up, well, we'll work on, I didn't design anything yet. I didn't really design anything yet because I honestly didn't even occur to me we would get this far today. So I need to think overnight about what we're going to work on tomorrow. I think tomorrow we need to, let's work on the form. Let's work on the form and the drop downs. And some basic styling. And then that will give me this week to really start locking in. We will start a basic table for sure, and we will make some decisions about what we want to appear in our results. And then this week I will have time. I will set aside time to nail down how I really want this to look. It's not going to be the fanciest thing in the world, but I want it to look nice, right? Wow. Wow. We absolutely have to build one of these that are public. We absolutely have to build one of these that are public. So, but this is pretty cool. What else should we look for? What else should we search for? Let's do an exact phrase for GitHub actions. 10 matching chunks. So this is from yesterday. Deploy a static site with GitHub actions. This is also from yesterday. Building JavaScript filters for a front-end project, July 5th, July 3rd. So this is every mention. So if we were doing a search and it was GitHub plus actions, result count 10, transcript count 4, match count, and a relevance score. So here's one. So how many times did it grab the same title? It was just based on the chunk, not the transcript. excerpt summarize everything I taught about GitHub Actions. I mean, I wouldn't want it to only return one transcript because it's a 2-hour live stream. So yeah. Okay, well, you know what though? This is like a first. This is a first. This is not the first time I've built a full stack app, but I can see now that this is the first time I've done anything at this scale. Like this is pretty big compared to what I've done in the past. I've built little I know I can tell you now that my previous apps were like little baby full stack apps, and there weren't that many, like less than a handful. But this is pretty cool. Um, okay, the last two things that we're going to do, we need to commit all of this now. And then we're going to do a README, and then we're going to be done. So let's go ahead. We can stop the server. Git commit. Prompt 7 is complete. Okay. And then let's have Codex write us a README. Please write a comprehensive readme.md for this project. Thanks. And HBK is asking the same question it asked me earlier. Have you started working on a new project? Are you a bot, HBKFF? Let me know if you're a bot. I think you might. I'm starting to think you might be a bot. And since we're almost done, I'm gonna just remind people, do me a favor, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new here. I would love to help have you. And it keeps the channel growing and moving forward. And we'll be back tomorrow to to really start working on the front end and figuring out how we want this thing to function and how to look. HBKF says I'm not a bot. Okay, I was just wondering because you asked the same question 2 times in a row. Yes, we have started working on a new project. That's what we're doing now. Enough with this flyout menu. Oh, you're busy. That's why you missed the answer. Okay. Well, you know what? It never helps to just ask the question and clarify. So today, what we're doing today is the new project. It is a full stack app. One moment, please. Hold, please. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, enough of this flyout. Let's see what we got. Holy shit, look how big this is. Okay. It's my own fault. You better want what you wish for sometimes, right? I'll take a look at this on GitHub. Okay. README. Wow, big day. Big day. I am definitely very happy. Definitely happy. I'm gonna, how we do on usage? Really well. 94%. Let's close that. They work. Let's check GitHub. It's our YouTube database. All right. And this is a private repository. I'm not making it available to the public just because it's my content and I just don't want to make it publicly available for people to scrape or use. The next project we build is going to be very similar to this, a full stack app with a backend database, searching, filtering. We're going to use the novels of Jane Austen because they are in the public domain. So we're going to build this again and make it public. Let's see here. Here's our database, our current status. This is obviously going to change. Here's our architecture. Okay, this is good. Prerequisites. The project currently has no third-party NPM runtime dependencies. It invokes the installed SQLite 3 command line program for database initialization, imports, and API queries. Quick start from the repository root. So there's a build, import, test, and start. NPM run import creates the database SQLite automatically when it does not exist. Validates the complete approved corpus, imports it, and rebuilds the FTS index. The server binds to localhost, basically, by default, so it remains local to the machine. Source repository config. By default, this repository and content agent are expected to be siblings. Actually, this is all really good information. Available commands. Every import is a full all or nothing rebuild. Well, I guess I should have known that. So this is not using Express. What's it using? And why do we still not have any node modules? Do we need them? We'll ask some of those questions tomorrow. Where is the scripts server? Routes. Do you know how long this would have taken me if I had had to do it myself? My first thought is years. People do this for a living. Wow. Wow. Testing, run all tests. The test suite covers. It's a little bigger. Empty database initialization with FTS5, transcript front matter and chunk parsing, whole second and millisecond timestamps, duplicate and decreasing timestamp behavior, required field validation, search and metadata API responses, query and filter errors, timestamp and YouTube URL derivation through API integration, static delivery of the disposable browser client. API tests create and remove a temporary seeded SQLite database. They do not overwrite the database. Project structure. Privacy and safety. Transcript input is read from the local file system only. Source transcript files are never modified. Only explicitly approved directories are traversed. Symlinks within approved directories are rejected. The generated SQLite database is not tracked by Git. It wouldn't need to be though, right? Because the importer rebuilds the database anyway. So isn't it more important that we have the transcript tracked by Git? The server listens on the loopback interface rather than all network interfaces. Okay. API errors do not expose SQL stack traces or local file system paths. Okay. The database contains private transcript content. Back it up, copy it, or expose the server only according to the privacy requirements of the source material. Okay. And there's a lot of troubleshooting. Okay. And some documentation. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. So I predict we're going to be working on the UI and the front end for a couple of weeks. I'm just going to make a prediction. Yeah, this is pretty cool though. Emilio is here, streaming a bit longer today. Yes. We had a good reason to keep going. I'm glad we got all this done. I was very, very tempted to just do half and finish the other half tomorrow, but I'm glad we got it all done. I think this is a good place to stop. Boy, so today it's been about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Yesterday, we'll just call it 2 hours. So in 5.5 hours, now granted, I'd been working on the transcripts myself for a couple of weeks at this point, but in 5.5 hours, we nailed down the requirements, documented all of the requirements, went through a couple rounds of revising prompts, did the prompts, made final decisions, and we vibe coded a full stack app. I mean, the front end is like as basic as it gets, and it's definitely disposable, but it exists. I mean, this is pretty cool. I'm excited about this. We absolutely have to do a version of a database search and filter that is public. We're absolutely doing that next. So, wow, everybody. Thank you for coming to hang out with me today. The mods, I appreciate you. Monique and Malik, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you to everybody else. Hassan was also here. Sorry, Hassan, I missed you earlier. What else? Anybody else here that I missed? Manish was here. Ethio Football was here. Clash of Clans Legend was here. All right. I'm ready to go take a walk, have a little lunch, enjoy the rest of the day. Everybody, come back tomorrow and hang out with me. And we're going to get started working on this front end. It'll be interesting once we really start to build out the results. It'll be interesting to see if we feel like we need to change anything, but those objects look really good. I mean, they are jam-packed with information, right? The thing that I'm thinking about, but I just don't know yet. I'm just thinking about results that get returned, but several of the same transcript gets returned. I'm not sure yet how that's going to look or how that's going to function, and if that's something that we can tidy up on the front end in terms of duplicates. I feel like if the API returns, so we know that the API is going to return 10 chunks, 10 excerpts, right? Let's call them excerpts. It's going to return 10 excerpts, and let's say that 5 of those come from the same stream, the same title. I feel like that on the front end, those could be combined. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's just propose that. Without coding anything, let's ask that question. That's really like the thing I'm kind of noticing right now, right? Okay. The first thing I'm noticing is this. We are not going to write code. I'm just chatting out loud. Let's say I search, well, SCSS and get 10 results. I'm calling them excerpts. You're calling them chunks. Fine. Of those 10 excerpts, 5 results come from the same live stream. I see now why matching and relevance make such a big difference. I think with JavaScript, I can take the API results and group the results on the front end if they have matching titles. I mean, of course you can. Of course you can. I'm just thinking out loud. Exactly. The API is returning the most granular, useful unit, one matching excerpt or chunk at a specific timestamp. Then the front end can decide how to present those results. Grouping by title would work, though I'd probably group by something more stable, like transcript ID or transcript path. Fine, it doesn't matter, but I get what they're saying here. And use the title only for display. 2 different live streams could technically share a title someday. That gives you a nice UI model. Live stream A, 5 matching excerpts. Live stream B, 2 matching excerpts. Yeah, that's exactly how we're going to do it. I do like that every object is its own excerpt, but we need to find a really good way to display those results. And this is where relevance and match count start doing different jobs. Relevance helps decide which individual excerpts should appear first. Match count tells you which live streams contain the most matching material. Grouping keeps repeated matches from the same live stream from visually taking over the results. You could still sort the groups by highest relevance, number of matches, date, or project while sorting excerpts inside each group by relevance or timestamp. So yes, your instinct is right. Keep the backend chunk level, then group on the front end for presentation. That preserves all the data without forcing the UI to show a flat list. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's almost like each result would be its own table. But I don't know, maybe. I don't know. So this, I mean, so many decisions that it's not even just that I have decisions to make, it's that I just didn't even think about these things because I just didn't even get this. I just hadn't gotten beyond actually having a back end or a database that was like functional. Okay, well, we got stuff to do. Everybody. Everybody's like, okay, bye. Bye. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe, do all those things. I appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.